It's just past 9 o'clock in Ukraine. TSN is broadcasting live. My name is Natalia Ostrovska. Let's begin. 1 person killed, 26 already injured. These are the consequences of the attack on Dnipro. A series of explosions rocked the city at dawn. An apartment building and private homes have been damaged. TSN correspondent Olha Pavlovska is with us live right now. Olya, good morning to you. If I may kindly ask, has the devastating fire been completely extinguished? And what is the current condition of all the injured individuals?
Nata, hello? Yes, we are now near the apartment building that caught fire after the missile strike. As we can see, the fire has already been put out, but rescuers are still inspecting the apartments and all the structures. At the moment, no one is being allowed inside. Residents are gathering and waiting for any news and for permission to go inside. According to official sources, miraculously, there were no fatalities here. As for the latest data at this moment, overall, as a result of the combined massive attack on the region, 1 person has died, and as of now, there are already 26 injured. 14 are in hospitals, while the rest have received medical assistance at home. It is known that 1 man is in serious condition. He is 55 years old and unfortunately has burns on 70% of his body. Doctors are currently fighting for his life. I have to say it was just a terrible night because first the Shaheds came flying in. The attack came in several waves, and then at dawn the occupiers launched missiles. It is known that there is destruction both in Dnipro, in the suburbs, and in Pavlohrad. There are fires at industrial sites. In the regional center itself, they are still calculating the damages. We saw dozens of mutilated apartment buildings. Here, the windows were blown out. People also say that the roofs are shattered roofs. It is also known that as a result of the attack, 2 private houses were seriously damaged and fires broke out. And here is what people are saying about this attack.
Everything was exploding around. The glass was falling. There was smoke. I don't know what the damage is like there, but of course there is damage. I grabbed 2 cats in my robe and ran. It was very loud. There were explosions every 10 to 15 minutes.
Shaheds and then ballistic missiles. It was a terrible night, probably one of the scariest. We stayed in the hallway because honestly it was too scary to even go to the bomb shelter. And it's known that the air defenders managed to shoot down 39 Shaheds that the enemy sent toward the region. We'll share more details about the consequences of this attack and the condition of the wounded in our next reports. NATO!
Olya, thank you for the information. Dnipro suffered a massive combined strike today. There is already 1 dead and 26 wounded. The number of injured has increased since this morning. Thank you, Olya. We'll be waiting for your next update. Several cities came under a massive enemy attack at once. Early in the morning, the Russians launched a combined strike on the Mykolaiv region. The enemy attacked the regional center with ballistic missiles and Shahed-type UAVs. Industrial infrastructure was hit, causing fires to break out. And in the Snihurivka community, the occupiers struck a farm with a drone. A fire broke out there as well. It has already been brought under control. 3 people were killed as a result of enemy attacks in the Zaporizhzhia region. In Primorsk, a man died after being injured by an FPV drone. And in Huliaipol, a married couple was killed in a car that was hit by a Russian drone. At night, Odessa region was attacked by Russian UAVs. A building belonging to a farming enterprise caught fire. The fire engulfed 1,000 square meters of the structure. A warehouse with agricultural machinery was also destroyed. Rescuers quickly extinguished the fire. There were no casualties or injuries. The number of injured in Belozerka, Kherson region has risen to 2. There, Russians dropped explosives from drones onto women. They sustained shrapnel wounds. Near Odrado-Kamyanka, a man was killed. He was killed by an enemy landmine. And 2 more people were injured in the suburbs of Kherson. The main blow of the Russian night attack fell on the Dnipro-Petrovsk region. This can be seen on the map of the approximate route of Russian Shaheds and missiles that the enemy launched at Ukraine last night. Apart from the Dnipropetrovsk region, aerial targets were mostly observed in the northern and eastern regions. Another 1,070 occupiers eliminated at the front. The General Staff of the Armed Forces has published data on enemy losses over the past day. On Friday, in addition to enemy personnel, Ukraine's defense forces managed to destroy 1 Russian tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, more than 30 artillery systems, as well as 124 vehicles and fuel tankers. In recent days, the Ukrainian army has also significantly increased its exchange fund at the front. This was stated by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Alexander Syrski says that this was achieved thanks to counteroffensive actions in the Dobropilya direction. There, the defense forces advanced 3 to 7 kilometers deep into the enemy's defenses and took control of 7 settlements at once. Meanwhile, in Russia, 2 large oil refineries are burning simultaneously. On the night before Saturday, drones attacked another enemy oil refinery, this time in Novokuybishevsk, Samara region. Locals are actively posting videos of the bright glow from the fire. The Novokuybishevsk oil refinery is one of the largest in the region and holds strategic importance for the enemy's army, as it supplies fuel for jet aircraft and bombers, among other things. In addition, videos showing the aftermath of the attack on the oil refinery in Saratov, where it was also loud last night, are actively spreading on social media. According to local officials, a residential building in the city was damaged after the nighttime drone attack. The governor of the Samara region reports 1 injured person and that emergency services are at work. There is no indication that Putin is interested in peace negotiations with Ukraine. This statement was made by the head of British intelligence, Richard Moore. According to MI6 estimates, the Kremlin leader has not changed his plans regarding Ukrainian territories, even though he is clearly bogged down in the war and has not achieved significant gains, having underestimated the Ukrainians. At the same time, the Russian leader shows no pity for either Ukrainians or his own citizens, sending them into meat grinder assaults. In addition, Richard Moore called on Russians who have the courage to speak the truth to cooperate with British intelligence, promising absolute protection to such agents. He also announced that they have created a platform on the dark web for recruitment, where sensitive information about illegal activities anywhere in the world can be passed on to the intelligence service, or individuals can offer their own services.
I see absolutely no evidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin has any interest in a peaceful settlement except for Ukraine's capitulation. He's simply stringing us along. Putin denies Ukraine's sovereignty and its very existence as a country and a nation. He seeks to impose his imperial will by any means available to him, but he will not succeed. Russia simply does not have enough resources to completely subjugate Ukraine by force. Yes, they are advancing on the battlefield, but at a snail's pace and with horrific losses. And Putin's army is still far from achieving the initial objectives of the invasion. Frankly speaking, Putin has bitten off more than he can chew.
Immediate deoccupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. A resolution with this demand was adopted the day before by the IAEA General Conference. The document was supported by 62 countries. According to it, the occupiers must immediately leave the territory of the nuclear facility and return the power plant to the full control of Ukraine. The plant has been under occupation since March 2022. On the territory of the industrial zone, the Russians have set up artillery positions and an ammunition depot. From there, they fire using a D-30 howitzer, which creates an additional risk for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And from Pokrovsk, a pregnant woman evacuated by bicycle. The soldiers of the 25th Airborne Brigade rescued a woman in the final weeks of her pregnancy. She was trying to leave fire-engulfed Pokrovsk by bicycle. The fighters defending the city saw her halfway along the road. Moreover, the woman was riding in broad daylight along the most dangerous route, where enemy drones are constantly lurking in the air. She managed to take some belongings and documents with her and set off straight across the field, while Russian artillery was firing all around. She was spotted by our fighters' drones, and the paratroopers set out to meet her on foot, because the Russians attack absolutely anything that moves on the roads, whether it's a bicycle or a car. She couldn't explain why she hadn't left the city for so long. Now she is safe. There is no threat to her life or the life of the child.
It's just an open field, a road through an open field. We're walking, and all of us can clearly hear an FPV drone flying in from one of the directions across the fields. On top of that, there's another one just hovering in the sky. But we were lucky. Either the FPV drone lost control or something else happened, because it veered off to the side and landed at the beginning of the road. Yes, we moved in short dashes, kept going. Of course, we took breaks, smoked.
There was a Russian Vityazm, and now it's gone. The main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense reports on the successful special operation. At night, fighters from the Viking Maritime Operations Center, Department of Active Operations of the main intelligence directorate, landed on the temporarily occupied Tendrivska Spit in the Black Sea in the Kherson region. There, they set up minefields. A multi-purpose tractor of the occupiers, the DT-10, which they call Vityaz, drove over them and was blown up. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, the occupiers used the Vityaz to transport personnel, weapons and food to their positions. Now the Russians will have to look for other delivery services. The 19th sanctions package from the Europeans could become one of the 5 most painful sanctions against Russia. This was stated on the national marathon broadcast by Vladislav Vlasuk, the Commissioner for Sanctions Policy. In his opinion, consultations between European politicians and Americans influenced the adoption of such sanctions. By the end of next week, the Council of the European Union is expected to finally adopt and approve this sanctions package at its meeting. The Ukrainian side hopes that it will be approved without any changes. At the same time, the US and the UK have already begun working on new sanctions packages against Russia.
Simultaneously with the final adoption of the 19th package, we expect to see another sanctions package from the United Kingdom. And in fact, there is a chance, I emphasize, it's not a certainty, but there is a chance that along with the sanctions package, for the first time during Trump's era, the United States itself will also come forward. This would be a major step. We don't know if it will happen, but it has been prepared specifically in coordination with the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom. And in many ways, these sanctions decisions will be similar.